Hi, welcome to Watch the Time. Quick wristwatch check first, as this is not actually a watch review or a watch video. This is actually a video about RC transmitters, but just do a quick wristwatch check. Wearing the new re-release Seiko Arnie. Absolutely loving this now on this new Watch Gecko strap. It's a two-piece Zulu diver canvas, and it just makes the watch wear so much better. I had it on the NATO and it was sitting a bit high on the wrist, but yeah, absolutely loving this watch. This is my sort of definite keeper in my collection. Anyway, on to the video. As you can see here, we've got some duplex Jeti action going on. So I've got a new transmitter, but I wanted to give you sort of a little bit of background first. I've flown with pretty much all radios going, to be honest, over the years. I started off with Futaba, then I switched to JR. Then I went to back to Futaba. I've also had, along with my Futaba, I've had Spectrum, DSM2, DSMX. I've had FR Sky, Tyrannus, Horus, E-Sky, and then a couple of other sort of smaller sort of company radios as well. And now I've got into the Jeti system when I got a bit fed up with Futaba because they didn't do like a model matching system, and I know they've now introduced it on their fast test, so their telemetry enabled receivers. You can now get model matching, but they were just too late to the party. And even if I had kept my my 16 Futaba, it was still too late because I only had, I think, about 3 receivers that would have been compatible. So it wouldn't have worked for me anyway, and I'd have had to have changed out all my receivers and got sort of only one benefit. So before that had happened, I'd already decided I'm changing systems. I looked at Spectrum and all different systems, and I found Jeti and the Powerbox Core to be the two sort of main ones. Jeti seem to have been around a bit longer, and I've got a good system in place already, and I just loved the radio, so I bought the DS16, and you know, honestly, it has proved to be an absolutely epic radio. I absolutely love it, so much so that I decided to upgrade to their flagship model. But this is an absolutely stunning piece of kit, and it's going to be for sale after today because I'm selling it to put some money towards that one. And then I went on and purchased the DS24. Now, when I was deciding on what to get, my goal was always to get the DS24, but I wanted to try the system, so I got into the system. I've bought something on the lines of, I think, 15 or 17 receivers, and I've got Varios and different things, so I'm fully into the system now, and that DS16 got me into the system. So now swapping the radios is not too much of a problem because I'm already in the system, and they're fully compatible. So the decision was the Mark II DS16 has got the same colour screen, and it's got a lot of the features that are in the DS24, but it's what they call module based. So both of these transmitters come with everything in them unlocked, whereas if you buy the DS16 Mark II and things like the DS12 and things like that, you've got options where you can unlock certain features, but you have to pay for them via modules. Now, this is just me, and I know it's weird, but I couldn't have a radio with features in it, even if I never used them, that were not available to me, i.e., locked features that I had to pay for. I couldn't have it. So I thought, well, if I buy the DS16, I'm going to unlock all the features, and then the price comes fairly close to the same price as the DS24. So I decided to go for the DS24 Plus, and this is the most important thing, the DS24 comes in burnt orange, and I don't believe the DS16 Mark II does. It's a different shade, and this colour, this burnt orange colour, is absolutely gorgeous. I love it, and it's set off beautifully with the carbon faceplate. That's a sticker, essentially, a very expensive sticker, but it's a vinyl covering on that one fake carbon. This is real carbon on the front of this, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So we'll just zoom in on this, and we'll turn it on, and I'm going to go through some of the features, and I'm going to give you my point of view, obviously. And as a flyer, I'm a weekend flyer. I fly helis, gliders, a bit of 3D, a bit of pattern. I'm currently practicing, well, not at the moment because we're in lockdown, but I was practicing for my C certificate. So I do lots of different parts of sport. I've got a couple of EDFs. I'm not into big jets, I'm not into big scale. Oh, so let's turn this on. The system for turning on is quite simple. Nice big power button in the middle. Just press and hold that till the green light comes on, and then it comes on, loads up your model. It's all fairly quick. And now I've got this runs Lua. They both run Lua. Both transmitters run Lua apps. So basically, that's third-party apps can be added, and I've got a thing called Model Announcer, which means that you can get each model as it comes up to be announced. Now, I know that sounds gimmicky, but it's actually a really good system because it's a kind of just another extra check to make sure you're on the right model. And as you can see in this picture, the model in question is there's actually a picture of it on the screen, and that is the actual picture of my plane. So there's a feature straight off the bat. You can add your own pictures, you can add your own speech, you can do text to speech in this and get it to say and display whatever you want pretty much. The other thing you'll notice is the screen colour on this one is red and black. Well, that's a red and black plane, and you can match the background of the screen to the colours of the plane. And again, it's one of those things, you're sitting in lockdown doing nothing else. It's a fun thing just to go through. And I've matched up, if we go on to my another one of my models, so let's just select say the Crescendo. That's a white and yellow model, and there you go, we've got a white and yellow display, and it's just announced E-flite Crescendo. If I go into let's go into my DLG, Strike 2 DLG,
normal, Strike 2 DLG,
green and black, and we've matched it, and we've got a picture of the model, and it announces the model. And if you tried to connect to the wrong model, it comes up on the screen that this isn't the receiver that you've bound to this previously. You can override it, so you can say, I do want to override this. Do you really want to? Yes. And then you can override it, because there are situations when you might have popped in a new receiver or you've swapped something and you might want to do that. So yes, you can override it, but you'd have to be honestly having a very bad day to get this wrong and fly on the wrong model, and that's key for me. So what does this transmitter do? Well, what doesn't it do really? There's a couple of things to note about it, in that you definitely need to buy a dongle. You need to use it in conjunction with a computer, because the Jeti system is so much more functional than just what's on the transmitter. So be prepared to update the firmware in your receivers. It's a dead simple process. You just use this little USB dongle. It will tell you what the current firmware is on the receiver, or it can be a receiver, it could be a Vario or whatever, and then you just click update, and it's honestly, it's dead simple, and you can do it on a Mac, a PC, whatever you want. So the system is fantastic. You've got a massive line of receivers. You've got the Jeti 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever, and then you've got the Jeti Assist receivers. You've got the Jeti box ones with the like a power box system. You can link multiple receivers together. You can use in pretty much any plane you can put one of these RSAT 900s. That's just one lead plugs into your receiver, and that gives you a completely independent 900 megahertz backup system. As you'll see here, this transmitter has 2.4 and 900 meg. There's about 5 aerials in here in total, and you've got a proper dual band system for the so you've got I think there's 4 aerials for the 2.4 and there's one for the 900 meg. It is a solid system, and as you can see here, you get your antenna, so it shows both antennas and it will tell you the strength, and the percentage of data sent and received. From a telemetry point of view, from a safety point of view, absolutely stunning radio. Very customizable. Jeti are happy for you to dig into the back of these and customize things, and you can change out switches. I've got two non-standard switches on here. One is the this is my throttle cut for all my electric models, and it is basically a lock-in switch. Now you can also, and you have to, when you set this up, when you're setting up 15 or 20 models, it's a bit of a nightmare, but when you're setting up one model at a time, it's fine, because when you go into the model, you basically say, where do you want all the switches and the controls to be when you turn it on, so that you can't turn it on if you're not in if your sticks are not in a certain position. So for this DLG, it's not an issue, but normally for my electric models with motors, I have to have that in the down position, and that's a lock-in switch, so that can't get knocked. That has to be in the down position, and the throttle has to be fully closed, and when you turn it on, it won't let you continue and actually transmit until you've actually touched the throttle and made sure it's right down to the bottom. It's a fantastic safety feature, and it's brilliant. So some of the features on this, it's got some really weird features. You can play, you can go into different things and play chess on it and Tetris, and there's all games. I think that's a gimmicky, but I kind of get it. If you're sitting over the field and there's nothing else to do because of the weather or whatever, you can have a game of chess. It's got vibrating sticks, so that when time is finished, you get a little zzz, zzz through the stick. You can have switches on the end of the sticks. If you're a pincher, you can have like buttons and switches and dials on the ends of the switch levers. Oh, I forgot to mention the other switch that I've got over here. I've got
normal.
So I've got a sprung-loaded both-way switch. So it's a 3-position switch, and it's sprung-loaded this way.
Launch.
That's launch mode. Normal mode.
Speed.
And then speed mode. Because sometimes I just want to hold on speed mode for a few seconds on the DLG. So that's a nice switch to have. On this particular radio, it's also got
0 feet.
You just heard there announce the altitude, and the reason for that is it's got accelerometers built in.
Altitude 0 feet.
So what I have to do is tilt the radio, and it will do what I've asked it to do, and in this case it's to tell me the altitude. On the back of the radio, we've got more functions. We've got a couple of sliders. These are two just sort of single push buttons, and then you've got a sort of couple of like trimming functions there as well. Sliders on the side.
Altitude 0 feet.
And as I say, this is all customizable to how you want it. The gimbals themselves are gorgeous. They're Hall effect magnetic gimbals, so there's nothing to wear out on those. It's all CNC machined aluminium. The case, the gimbals, all CNC machined aluminium, all super high quality. You can record your own voice onto this through the microphone. You can plug in a little aerial thing and it plays music through, or it's got an FM radio built in, a digital FM radio, and you get this little aerial thing that you can plug in, so you've got a radio. It's got a fairly decent speaker. It's got you can play music files, so you can play music while you're flying. You've got a headphone socket. So for instance, one of the things I have, let's just go to the correct model. Right, so if I go to the Axiom, which is my F3A biplane, and then press this lever, just going to turn the volume up.
Slow roll.
Slow roll.
Inverted with 1 roll. Inverted 2.5 turn spin. Exit inverted. Square loop with a half rolls. Stall turn quarter rolls.
So that's basically my C schedule. So when as I'm learning the C schedule, once I've flown a manoeuvre, or as I'm halfway through the manoeuvre, I just flick that.
Knife edge below 30 feet for 4 seconds.
And it gives me the next manoeuvre. So basically it's got a built-in caller. The trims are a bit in an unusual position, take a bit of getting used to, but it's not a problem because it's got a function called auto trim. So when you're flying a model for the first time and you think it might be out of trim, you engage auto trim, and basically you get the model flying straight and level, holding the stick. So you might be holding, say you're holding a load of rudder in and a load of up elevator to get it to fly straight. Hit the auto trim, basically it will start trimming, and as it trims to keep it level, you'll then start naturally moving back. Once you get to the middle, turn the auto trim off and you're trimmed. It gets it to within about one click of each trim, and then you can sort of fine tune it. Works brilliantly. And it's, again, sounds odd, and it's weird the first time you do it, but it's intuitive, it works great, and it's so much easier than like trying to hit trim buttons. You know, if a model's just slightly out of trim, you use these. If it's a new model for the first time and you think it might be way out of trim, then auto trim function works brilliantly. All the functions, so low rates, have announcers,
Snap flaps.
so you can announce on everything. You can have the display set up as you want it, so I've done it sort of pretty much the same on all. I've got my timer there, which starts on the throttle, and there's also another page of information. I've got trims, and then if you've got telemetry, etc., you've got all that as well. And you can display these are double size, and you can do single size, so you can get a lot more information on there, but I just like the key information on screen and in double size boxes. That works great. You've got your battery, the time, etc., and then it will show you here you're transmitting. I'm just going to go into the menu system here, and if you notice here it says press menu for help. So if I press menu again, actually comes up with basically it's got a built-in instruction manual. So if you want to go into timers and sensors, press that, and we'll have a look at, let's have a look at timers. And there you go, that's all the information about the timers. So if you're over the field and you want to do something, you haven't got the manual with you, it doesn't matter, it's built into the radio. And because you do firmware updates on this, that'll update regularly as well when you do your firmware updates. So that's a really handy feature. Because this is a complex radio, there's no getting away from it. It is a very complicated radio. However, when it comes to setting up a new model and doing stuff, you've got your main model memory, your main model menu, select model, new model, basic properties, functions assignments, servos assignments. So basically you just set up what does what. So you're going to tell it that channel 1 is ailerons, and it's going to be P1. So P1 is this movement here, and you'll see the little thing move there. So that's nice and simple. And then you go in and assign it to servos. So throttle is servo 1 output. On the receiver, is throttles, 2 and 3 are ailerons, and you've got elevator mode. So you can set it up how you want. So there's no sort of, like with Futaba, you know, channel 1 was always ailerons. With this, it doesn't matter. You just, as you plug it in, tell it what you're doing, and that's it. So nice and simple. And you've got your servo set up here that you would do normally, so your sub trims, etc., end points and all that gets done in there. Then once you've got your basic model set up, you can go into fine tuning, and this is where you've got your flight modes, your dual rates and exponential, and things like dual rates. You know, it's dead simple. You go into dual rates and exponential. Let's just go into it, and there you'll see it all laid out. And if you want to change any of that, you just press edit, go in, change it. So we press edit, you get your graph, all nice and straightforward, but you know, you can change it as much as you want. And then you've got all your other stuff in here, butterfly flaps, snap rolls, all your free mixes, etc. And you've got advanced properties where you've got your sticks set up, so you can set up switches to be normal switches, buttons, momentary switches, whatever you want. You've got logical switches, so you could say if SD and SE are both in the down position, then throttle cut is active. If any one of these is in the up position, then throttle cut is not active. So you could almost do like a, you know, a super safe throttle cut by saying that the plane will only work once you've moved both of these to the up position, for instance.
Throttle cut high rates.
Then you've got all your sound on events, so that's basically when you've set up a switch to do something, then you can have a sound set up, a beep, a warning. If what is in the transmitter you don't like, you can use the microphone to say it yourself, or you can go online and use a text to speak function, and then you just type in the word and it will speak it. You drop it into the folder on the computer, pop it onto the transmitter, and you can get it to do anything. What else have we got? Telemetry, voice commands. There's a built-in sequencer, and again you've got accelerometers built in. So if we just move the transmitter, you'll see the little target thing moving around there. So we've got your accelerometers. I say I only use the accelerometers for announcing the altitude. That's all I use it for at the moment, but you could set it up as you want. There is voice recognition. I haven't got my head around it yet. I've dabbled with it and it seemed to work. I think it's the kind of thing you could use to announce timers and things. So you could say, have a voice command set up, time remaining, and it will tell you how much time you've got remaining and things like that. But it's not something I particularly need or I'm worried about. The timing system on this announces when to, every minute, and then when it gets down to the last minute at every about 10 seconds, and it countdowns to the last 10, and you get the bleeps and the vibration. So I don't need another system for telling me the time kind of thing. Obviously we haven't got a touch screen, but we have got an extremely good colour screen which is visible in all daylight situations, direct sunlight, everything. It works fantastic, unlike the Futaba that I used to have. Beautiful colour screen in a dimly lit room. Outside on a sunny day, you just basically couldn't see it. Simple as. Obviously it's not a touch screen, but you've got these quick action buttons, and then you've got the dial and the button, and it's all very positive clicks. So if I click menu, it's a positive click. It's click click ka-chunk. It all feels nice, really nice quality. Does this transmitter suit everybody? Absolutely not. If you're a hardened Futaba flyer and you are the kind of person who sets his model up over the field, then no, this isn't for you. You really want to be setting your models up at home, because you might need to pop onto the computer, plug this into the computer, download some stuff. It's really designed for someone who wants to spend a little bit more time setting up their models. Yes, you could just set up a basic 4-channel model over the field and then fly it, but ideally it's a little bit more involved than that to get the most out of it. Now, as I said, I don't fly big jets with 20 channels or anything like that. I just fly normal. You've seen some of my planes on here, F3A pattern ships, gliders, different things. And for me, it's possibly overkill, and we're talking £2,000 for this radio. But when I looked at the Futaba, it's kind of equivalent, the MZ or the M whatever it is 32. Yes, it had more channels, but functionality wise I think this is better, and it's a cheaper radio. Receivers are about the same price, about 60 quid for a basic 6-channel receiver. I think the assist ones start at about £100, but when you think you're getting a really good gyro built into the receiver and not taking up any more space, that's a pretty good value system as well. And don't forget, this system is, as far as I'm concerned, bulletproof. It really is a solid link between you and your plane. So if you've ever had a system whereby you've had issues, then this is a great system. And if you want to then use your 900 megahertz backup, these are about £70, these 900 megahertz backups. So for me to put one of these in every model, you're talking about £1,000 that I'd have to spend on satellite receivers, and this is only going to kick in if you lose your 2.4 gig receiver for some reason. So to me, and the models I fly, probably not worth it. And I'm probably not even going to use this one that I've got here, to be honest, because I could only choose one plane to put it in. What's the chances of that system failing? It's such a bulletproof system anyway. You can monitor your aerial strength, so after you've had a flight, your initial flight of a plane, you can go back into the whole flight and look at the strength of the antennas independently. If one of them reads low for some reason, it might be up against some carbon or something and being blocked, then you can move it, so you can see what's going on, which is a fantastic system. So I don't feel the need for this. If you're flying big jets, big planes, perhaps I would say anything over 7 kg maybe, then I think it's a small price to pay for that extra level of safety. inside. So that's that. But I say I've got nothing that really warrants the need for one of those. Maybe my helicopter, I could pop it in that, but you know, we'll see. Bottom line is, yes, it could be seen as overkill for me, but you know, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm using a lot of the functions that are on this. I like the fact that I can put a picture of my plane on screen. I like the fact that you can change the colours to match the plane. It's a good visual aid to making sure you're on the right model. It's a quality item, so that all the, you know, everything that moves it feels quality. So I don't mind spending, you know, a bit more money on something that, I mean, now I've got into the system and I've got the flagship. I'm going to keep this. This will probably stay with me now for at least a minimum of 5 years at least. So when you think about it, it's not that expensive. However, if you're interested in the system, you know, the Jeti DS, I think it's the DS12, is about a quarter of the price, but you still get the fantastic duplex link to your plane. You get a lot of the functionality is the same, and you know, you're basically buying into a great system, which I can thoroughly recommend. I mean, it honestly is, and I've got no problem with Futaba. I've still got a Futaba transmitter that runs a FreeSky module inside of it. You know, I've got no problem with Futaba whatsoever. I've run Spectrum for a number of years and never had an issue, although I understand some people do have issues with Spectrum. I never did. I had issues with things like Lemon receivers and Orange receivers, but never Spectrum stuff. So I've got no issue with any of those brands or radios. This, however, is in a different league. It honestly is. The build quality, the functionality, the fact that you can write your own code for this if you're that way inclined, and get it to do whatever you want. You can get third-party apps, and as far as I can see, they're all free. You don't have to pay for any of these third-party apps. Like the model announcer I've got on there, I didn't pay for that. Someone's wrote it. You get it from a website, and I just give them a little bit of money now and again. You can click on a button and send them a little bit of money, and it keeps everyone ticking over. So you know, it is a real step up from your Futaba Spectrum, FR Sky. Probably it's the closest thing it is to is something like the Tyrannus with all the open source TX, where it's kind of a coded radio where you can basically do whatever you want. If you can write the code and you can work it out, you can do that. But if you've just come straight from Futaba and you've never had anything else and you wanted to set up a new model on here, you could do it fairly easily. The other thing that I haven't touched on is these are heavy radios. You know, it is a solid chunk. That is a really heavy radio. Now, it doesn't bother me. I'm used to it. I sometimes wear it on a strap just from there. And if you're, the other option you can do is you can put these brackets on the bottom and then have a kind of a dual strap. So that goes across your back, and then you have dual straps there, and it will just hang in front of you at the right angle, and then the weight is taken off your hands, and that works fine. I tend to just fly it as it is. I just get used to the weight. I even I was worried when I started throwing my DLG with this in my hand, but I can throw my DLG with the launch mode activated with my finger, and I hold it out in front of me and no problem at all. It's got nice grips on the back, so you can really get hold of these grips nicely, and for me the weight isn't a problem. But when you first pick this up compared to a Futaba or especially a Spectrum, you know, it is heavy, but as I say, I don't have a problem with the weight of it at all. So I know this video is going to go on a bit long, but there's so much to talk about, and I honestly can tell you I haven't even touched the surface on what this radio can do. You know, you could do hours on this, and somebody thankfully has done hours on this, and I'm just going to give a big shout out, massive shout out to Harry Curzon. He's a YouTuber that basically does tutorials on how to use these radios. He started off I think with a DS16, he's now got a DS24. If you ask him a question, he'll come back to you. If it's something of interest to him and he thinks it's quite complicated, he'll make a video about it. And the stuff that he can do is unbelievable, and has helped me out massively. Some of the stuff in this system is complicated, there's no doubt about it, and being able to follow along with his tutorials just makes life so much easier. I've actually, when I swapped from the DS16 to the DS24, I just sent him a quick message through YouTube saying, what's the best way to transfer my models over? And he just come back literally the same day, copy and paste the model file and the app file and the sounds file on your computer into a folder, and then drag and drop it onto the new radio, and you've got it, and you know, it worked perfectly. So big shout out. Just search Harry Curzon, or if you search for any kind of Jeti question, his videos will come up. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So big shout out, thanks to him. So do I recommend this radio? Not for everyone. It really isn't for everyone. You're going to have to spend you know a fair chunk of money, although the DS12 is I think on par with a lot of Futabas and Spectrums. This isn't for everyone because it's it's a £2,000 radio. Most people in your average flying club don't spend £2,000 on a radio. It's simple as that. But is it worth it? To me, absolutely 100%. Should you get into it? Absolutely 100%. If you're that way inclined. If you're happy with your Futaba, with your Spectrum, with your Tyrannus, absolutely fine. But this is another level, and if anyone at your club has got one, just ask them about it, and they will be as enthusiastic as I am. I can guarantee they'll be as enthusiastic as I am about how good this radio is. So anyway, thanks for watching. Apologies the video's gone on a bit, but there's a lot to talk about on this one. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you soon. Cheers, bye.